There we go. My bad. My bad.
You mean my beautiful opening was not heard?
Before we begin,
My beautiful opening.
we were doing this on purpose just to make sure that you would come in. Are we 5x5? Let us know. Let us know. Are we okay? 5x5? Great. I'm sorry.
I see a
As
great
our friend,
Wambui. Welcome.
begin again, please. I'm
I
sorry.
need to start all over again. My beautiful introduction. I welcome all of you
My fault.
on our inaugural live stream, August 10th, 2024, Lynn's Warriors. I have to jump into the fire and not only do videos, but become interactive with you, have you ask questions. Let us get it going because you know what, Warriors? Everybody else is forgetting about the kids. With everything going on, nobody, neither candidate, I'll just throw that out there right now, platforms, not doing it. Not talking about kids and families. So we have to keep it up 24/7, 365. And I'm here to carry the burden and share with you things I know so you can be aware. But right now, what is going on? Let me give you an example. Last year alone, over 36 million child sexual abuse images, child sexual abuse material, we call it CSAM, reported to the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children. 36 million. 2023. Now that is up 12% from 2022. And that would be material people see online and then report to the cyber tip line. And that's a great actually resource, cybertipline.org, if you see any questionable material. But what I have to say to you, with a 12% increase in 1 year, that's what we know about. So we know it's probably much higher, and a lot of things with children and safety and teens just goes unreported. You might ask why. It is always the same answer. There is a war on for our children. Definitely. And you know what? Our kids make people money. Let me put out a little warning. We'll be talking about perhaps some sensitive topics. You may get shocked, but you know what? The reality today is so shocking that you need to be shocked because you have to understand what's going on. You have to know mainstream media is not feeding you this information. And then there's loads of videos and things online, but it's kind of what I call, I don't even know what they are. They get a lot of hits, but it's not what I call the nuts and bolts of what's going on regarding our children and families. So I have my producer, Lionel, here with me today on my inaugural live stream, and we're going to jump right into it. I want to talk about a little bit about keeping an eye, and I don't, it's funny because I have had discussions in the last week with different people, and I don't even really bring up too much politics. You know, I could be grabbing a cup of coffee with somebody and they naturally go into, what do you think? What's going on? And I am amazed. I say very little, but I have to interject once in a while. For instance, when somebody says to me, oh, this is a wonderful team for the country, this new Democratic team. And I just try to bite my lip. But I have to, after a couple of minutes, say a little something, and I'll say something, well, what do you have to say about our open borders? Because I'm here, Warriors, to tell you that I do extensive work and know a lot about the borders with law enforcement, Homeland Security, and it is the biggest criminal enterprise going on right now, these open borders. It is a U.S. government complicit with the cartels in opening the door and allowing free reign, everybody pouring in fentanyl, pouring in weapons. We don't talk about that a lot. Weapons pouring in. And all of these unaccompanied minors. And so when I bring a couple of little facts up, they just stare at me. Or somebody just said to me, well, Biden tried to do something, but the Republicans didn't allow it. Well, we know that is not true. They tried to wrap in some border security, additional funds for man and woman power into the whole Ukraine and into Israel and make it this whole lump sum, which Republicans, rightfully so in my opinion, said no way. We need a separate Border Security Act legislation. They said no. But these people, this is what I want to get at. They amaze me. I mean, I'm not sleeping. I'll turn to my husband and say, I can't believe people that you would think, I don't know, teachers, doctors, just mothers, think that all of this is okay. All of this gender, all of this. I also mentioned to somebody, I said, well, American Academy of Pediatrics just a few months ago put out, finally, of course it was hidden in the media, we should exhaust all possibilities with children and gender, going through working with the families, going through therapies, and then when the child's 18, let them decide about puberty blockers, all of that. And this person, and I didn't even say that much. I just said, American Academy of Pediatrics. And this person, he said to me, well, if a child, is 3 years old and wants to be a girl, why not? An otherwise what you might call a sane person. So I am just, and I'm going to use a word, amazed that people think like this, that this is also normal. We have August 21st coming up around the country. Here in New York City, we'll be taking to Times Square. We call it Takedown. It is Fentanyl Awareness Day. I cannot tell you, as a tough warrior, every day waking up and being involved with these families and being part of their two main groups with fentanyl. These are parents and family members who have lost children or brothers and sisters. And to see the countless photos, Forever 16, I got this morning. A wonderful woman, her daughter died at 16 a year ago. And they always put Forever 21, Forever 14. It is the most heartbreaking thing. And it is not a drug overdose, everybody. It is an intentional poisoning of Americans and especially of our children. So I don't understand these people thinking all of this is okay to have open borders and have fentanyl pouring through. And I just don't even know what to say about it. But I do know we have to stay in our lanes, stay on track, share information, talk to each other. We have to get out there and vote and be on top of it. We cannot let anything fall to the wayside. I am very, very concerned over the next, whatever this is, 90 something days. And then to have, a candidate for vice president who's, don't get me started. I mean, I collect diapers for women, period products for women, because we have period poverty. And I'm sorry, I have to bring this up. You might not like it, but it's the truth, because 1 in 3 girls and women can't afford products. So as we collect and help with this, we got people putting tampons in boys' bathrooms. Look, it's all upside down, but we cannot get distracted, especially as we're entering into going back to school. Now, I want to talk about that. It's very important this year. I think we should stay on track. We've got this election coming up. We've got to really, really protect our kids. And I'm going to start with something I say every year. People refuse to listen to me. And I just want to address something. I am very lucky my husband puts up with me. He is a saint. He is chief warrior, and he is everything. So I love you dearly. And he's my producer and helping me launch this inaugural live stream. But getting back to school, listen, we do, in the beginning of the year, we do the pictures of everybody, right? And parents are proud and grandparents and post the pictures on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever you're posting them. We cannot do that. I repeatedly say it is worse than ever because now we have artificial intelligence and AGI as well. And I am telling you, and this is fact, I know we're proud of the kids, or we want to show our kids there are other ways. Post the picture in the home because the predators are there. The predators are 10 steps ahead. The predators are waiting for your children. Do not make it easy for them, okay? Now, we know the end of the year with graduation. We'll leave that for the end of the year where people are posting congratulations and children's pictures. It's such a no-no, but why? Why don't people listen to me? Why? You are putting your child at risk. And people are posting what grade they're in, what school they go to. Unbelievable. Everything can be hacked and tracked. I don't care. This is the reality of tech. And you know it, right? And people are very smart. The children are making on every single level, right? They're making money for these creeps, for these monsters. We cannot make it easy for them. So I'm putting the warning out now because here in New York City, we start school, a couple of days after Labor Day. So we have a couple of weeks left. But I know states like Florida, maybe next week, I think they're beginning. They start a little earlier in the month. So we cannot make it easy for them. So tell your neighbors, tell your friends and family members, Please don't post. Share them just within your family and with your friends. I'm telling you, it is worse than ever because we also know, and this is the truth, if somebody says, and there are a lot of reports that don't hit the media, I want a little, maybe a 5 or 6-year-old boy with blonde hair. Go find me one. And these predators are going out there and literally trying to steal kids off the streets. So I am telling you, and they're so brazen. You may have seen some of the reports where a mother's in a supermarket and the child's in the front of the cart, and somebody comes up while she's looking at the cheese and is trying to grab the kid out of the cart. We have parking lot situations. These people have no shame, and it's because when it comes to $1, they'll do anything. And that leads me to the next thing. I am getting going. It's been in my mind, but I am one warrior. I'm getting my warriors together. We have to stop. I've started talking about it in the last few days. We have to stop institutional child abuse. Does anybody know what I mean by institutional child abuse? And I'll stop for a moment because there's a little bit of a lag. Institutional child abuse. What does that mean? Come on now. I know somebody can say something. No, nobody's saying anything.
There might be a bit of a lag. Here we go.
I want
K through 12, question mark, Howard asks.
Well, Howard, do you mean institutional child abuse K through 12, or we're getting back to pictures? K through 12, okay, school. Okay. Institutional child abuse, it includes, but not limited to, this could be youth homes, foster homes. This could be child protective services when they take a child, that's correct, and put them with a relative. That can be institutional child abuse. It is also when these kids are called bad or out of control, or the parents can't handle them, they send them off to these farms or these ranches to work. That is institutional child abuse. And I'm going to explain this. This whole child protective services, what a name. I am here to say it's anything but. This system has to be revamped, retooled, and I'll tell you why. With all of this institutional child abuse, so I just said group homes, foster care, next of kin taking care of children, these farms, these ranches, they received last year, that we know about, $23 billion to take care of kids. We also know for last year, 2023, 120 to 200,000 children were under this umbrella. I think you know where I'm going with this. We also know that many of these children are finally coming forward because, believe it or not, and she's doing an excellent job, Senator Shannon Grove out in California, along with Paris Hilton, are at the helm, and I'll be working with them to get the word out that we cannot have this. We are going to have a Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act. Paris testified in front of Congress. There's a wonderful toolkit, website, everything. We want that $23 billion to go into real take actions, real help for kids. And I want everybody to understand the website is stopinstitutionalchildabuse.com. It's very simple. And there's a toolkit on there. So I ask you, no, actually, I beg you to read up on this, to come on board, because all of these issues with children, we need you to sign on with us. There's a wonderful sign-on letter. You just put your name and your zip code. It'll tell you, you support. We do all the work for you. We have these extensive toolkits with visuals you can use on Twitter and Facebook. So please, I'm asking you, let me see some of these questions. Yeah. Justin says, my aunt worked for CPS and hated every minute of it. Well, the system is wrong. The system is broken because they're giving, I don't know, so many cases to one caseworker. They can't possibly handle that much. So things fall through the cracks. That's the way it is. Then everybody's cashing in. Any research done on how women dealt with womanhood before Procter and Gamble cashed in? Not sure where you're going exactly with that one. I could answer a lot of different ways. Utah has some big issues with this. Every state, I'm here to say every single state.
That's Caroline of Utah, by the way.
Caroline of Utah. I see. Now I can see from this angle. Every state has an issue. I'm sure everybody, we have spoken about it. You've heard about it. It doesn't work. How many more kids have to die, whether they're sent into these facilities? I just posted and shared a story. You know, I go on frequently with Nancy Grace, and I just sent them a story. Hopefully, we'll be covering next week. A beautiful little boy, for years in his own home, was abused by his older brother, abused by his stepmother and father. He went to the school. They saw marks on him, constant bruising, but they said he was a smiley kid. Fast forward 6 years later, he died. Now, that's a reverse of the school didn't say we have to get him out of the home. But what I'm trying to say to you, even if you got him out of the home, the people I work with, my age now, who have been through youth homes, foster care, they report to me that and they don't even know each other. They will say they were re-traumatized in these places, re-victimized in these places, re-trafficked in these places. So what can we deduce, warriors? We can deduce that this is just another money-making, and I know you all know this, operation, but $23 billion. Can you imagine if the warriors had $23 billion? We could build ranches. We could take in all the kids and love them and holistically heal and teach them and educate them. And that's the goal of the warriors. That is the direction we are heading in.
I want to add something, Ryan. Just by the way, this is our dear friend Hillbilly55. This is your first super chat ever.
Well, Hillbilly, you're my first super
He
chat.
says, wish you could be more. There was no bigger challenge in protecting our future.
First of all,
the inaugural super chat.
Hillbilly55, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't want to start crying, but I could, because every penny counts for the children. Every penny that we raise with the warriors, we go into victims, survivors, goes into just their needs. I mean, again, to go back, not to reiterate, but I kind of have to. When I hear all this, I haven't really spoken about it at all. I stick to facts and truths and really try to get information out there. When I hear tampons in boys' bathrooms, and then I hear that most of the dispensers were ripped off the walls, within minutes and thrown on the ground and ruined, and the tampons were broken open and just stomped on. Like, you don't hear that in the news. And then we have to collect them because girls, they don't go to school, or women don't go to work because they don't have enough protection for the day. How sad is this? This is horrible. And that reminds me of the women with the diapers. Diapers are expensive. A woman will say to me, "Oh, Mike, oh, bless you. Thank you so much. Oh, please." I really do. It means so much to me that you contribute, and you're listening to me, and you want to help. But so thank you, Mike, very much. But I want to get back to, a woman will say to me, I can keep my baby in a diaper. I only have 2 for the whole day. So I have to stretch them out 12 hours a piece. Why I'm saying all of this is a baby will get an infection or a rash, or this is horrific. This is horrific. Girls are missing school because they don't have their period products. Women are missing work, productivity, right? Missing their education.
Why are they
girls.
missing? I'm sorry.
They
why
don't
are they
have
missing school?
They don't have sanitary napkins or tampons. Therefore, they stay home. They're too in fear of. I'm getting a little graphic here, everybody, but I have to, because while we at the Warriors are collecting monies and doing all this, then I got to hear about some faux coach who, hey, Mr. Santa Claus, I don't know what he is. Put the tampons. Do your research. I'm sure you all have, about his child issues. So big on the puberty blockers, gender, things like that. Here's what our children. Justin, new member.
Justin Kuhn is a new member.
Yay! I see that star. Yay!
This is a big day for you.
Now, Bad Biz, what is this? It's very common for a studio audience to stand up and applaud when they send a child to one of these. Oh, you mean like in those help shows they have, where they have that impossible child and send them off to those ranches? And I don't know, because I don't watch those shows. Okay, I don't have time. What I want to say in my older age and doing all this work and research, and it's tough, because when you're a parent and you are trying to work and pay bills and take care of kids and make sure they get an education, put food on the table, we all know, right? We can all agree it's very, very tough. But in retrospect, I can say we have to really say there's like no bad kids. It's their environment, right? It's, think about that for a minute. And that's tough because if you have some kid that's impossible or cursing at you or just refusing or sneaking out of the house at night, it is a tough one. But if we could start, talk about root causes, like if we could go back there, and it's a very tough issue because you can't tell people how to raise their children. I can suggest things to people, I can give tools to people, but they have to implement them. So kids are automatically today just thrown into these different environments. And then we've got Mr. Santa Claus, faux coach. That's what I'm calling him. I just can't really say his name.
Well, his other name, you can say Tim.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
No.
But although walls, I want to talk about the wall and the border in a second. I see him just applauding, all of this stuff with that smile on his face. And I just can't tell you how upset I am, but I'm more upset that the public, and as I say to you constantly, I don't care, left, right, up, down, middle, whatever anybody is, everybody can have their opinion. But what about policy? I am here to say the last 4 years, the Biden administration has been a complete and utter failure. The border is open. You know all of this. Criminals are just flowing in, walking around, taking services away. This is such a drain on our services, whether it's Social Security or medical, education. They're getting free cards, debit cards here in New York and other major cities. And, it may not be in your town or rural area, but these people are leaving New York and, they're leaving Los Angeles and they're coming to your town. And what I am saying, and I have spoken about it before, the most frightening thing. Now, finally, Bad Biz. Thank you. Seriously. These are beautiful people. These are beautiful warriors. All of you are warriors listening to this today. Thank you, Bad Biz. But what I want to say is, what are we going to do about all this? Like, that's where we have to get in and do things. Now, recently there was a very big conference in DC, and it was about human trafficking and law enforcement and AI. And I came to the conclusion, because I'm not going to any of those things. And I'll tell you why. Because I need to be boots on the ground, be where I need to help people. And I was recently in California, and that's what I do. It has to trickle down to the people. I don't need to be at conferences and summits talking about how bad everything is to people who work, for lack of a better word, in this business of human trafficking. They're talking to each other. And I started saying to everybody, we have to get this information out into the public. Not only the information they need to know, the resources and free resources so people can take action within their own homes. And everybody just meets me with stares. So nobody's really talking about this escalation, this war on children. Sure, there's the pithy little tweets and things like that. But you know what? We got to do it. We got to be the warriors on the ground. I'm very concerned going back to school because the open borders, that leads me to walls. I just said it. Walls, whatever his name is. Coach Faux Santa Claus. That Tren de Aragua, it is a horrible Venezuelan gang. They will murder our girls and women, boys and men. That's what they do. They're criminals. They have no compassion. They have no feelings, in my opinion. And they are here to kill us. And I'm sorry, I have to say what it is. I work with law enforcement. They've been telling me this for several years now. So finally, we've seen Lake and Riley. We just saw it was announced that that person was part of this Tren de Aragua. I don't understand why the media is so afraid to talk about it. Warn people kind of thing. We have to know what's going on. We have to protect our children, our youth, our teens. But what I want to tell you is they are infiltrating. Now, this is the most shocking thing to me. Our American middle schools and high schools, this Venezuelan gang who've partnered with MS-13. And because MS-13's been around for a while now, certainly New York, Long Island, I want to say probably close to 15 years. So the cartels are working with them, but they're getting our American kids because they're paying them money to traffic their dirty, poison fentanyl. It's not a drug, the illicit fentanyl. Illicit now. Fentanyl. They're cutting the chemicals into every other drug, and they're getting our American kids to sell them in their schools to traffic them, right? And they're also peer-to-peer trafficking. A boy will say he's the boyfriend of a girl. A girl thinks she's loved. You've heard me talk about this before. Before you know it, he says, if you love me, you'll do this. She does it. But what they're doing, a lot of it is actually with the phones, taking nude images and then uploading to porn sites, because that's there forever. And you can make so much money. And the demand is for children. The younger, the better. So we've got this Trendy Aragua and other cartel criminals getting our American kids to do their dirty work, for $100, $200. You have to be aware of this. You have to know this is going on, and we have to somehow get into the schools and make them aware this is going on, because all of the work we do, most people will say to me, I didn't know that was going on in the schools. What do I do if it's going on in the schools? First of all, we always have to have a record of everything. I don't care where you live. You have to have a record. You call 911 immediately. You have to have a record. You call cybertipline.org. Go to that website. Start reading up. Start educating yourselves. It's happening right here in our front yards, our backyards, on our streets.
By the way, can I just add something?
Sure.
Not to interrupt here.
Oh, no,
But Sarah brings up a good point.
I was getting to
Sarah, Sarah uses the term overdose. You mentioned this before. These aren't overdoses. These are what?
Thank you, Sarah, for this comment. Because it hits home. 5 kids last fall, 2 of which died. Now, I don't know what drugs, but I will overall say most of the time it is poison. It is the fentanyl that is cut either into, the opioids or into the marijuana that poisons. I don't call it an overdose. Again, I would have to know the facts with these 5. I call it the poisoning. We call it the poisoning, the intentional poisoning coming from China, right, through Mexico. And you know what? I would say maybe every 10 days there is kind of, law enforcement does confiscate, stop these massive amounts that would wipe out New York City, like one shipment of it.
Did you see this? Sarah says in schools they're lacing vape pens.
Yeah, so they're lacing it into that. They're lacing it into everything. They're lacing it into the gummies. The kids eat a whole bag of gummies, they're dead. And remember, think of a grain of salt. 1, 2 of those grains can kill you. Just touching it, getting it on your body. This is poison. This isn't even an overdose. Again, I would have to know the circumstances of the children. This is serious stuff. And it's escalating. It's escalating. So it's not, there is the information out there, but it's not getting to the people. It's not getting to the families. I mean, this is an American crisis, and it's intentional. So I think candidates should be talking about this 24/7. I think this is it, because this leads to the poisoning of our children and all people. It also leads to all of the crime, our services, national security. This should be front and center. So when I see faux coach Santa Claus, and somebody's neighbor is this and all these little pithy, cute things, I'm disgusted. I am disgusted, because I have seen and heard horrible, horrible things being done. And no matter what you think about the border, all of these unaccompanied minors coming here, nobody knows where they are. We've got trucks picking them up 10, 20 at a time. There's no vetting. We know they're put into sex trafficking, labor trafficking, working. Everybody loves the cheap labor. I wish candidates would talk about that a little bit. They're putting the kids on the meat packing plants and car plants, and they're out in the lumber yards, 12-year-olds. Well, I saw somebody yesterday delivering. I didn't even tell you this.
I was just going to ask you about that.
No, delivering. I didn't tell you this one. I think he was 8 years old on an electric bicycle. I kid you not. It was up to like my waist. I'm telling you, he was a child delivering yesterday. I saw this. So this is something we have to protect our children. We have to talk to them, age appropriate, but open and honestly. Even our young ones, we have to have code words within the family, safe words. We really have to do all of this, because you know what? Nobody else is doing it for us. I'll be going to Washington a lot after Labor Day, because I have to put my 2 cents in front of them. I don't take government grants and all of that stuff. I don't want anybody telling me I can't say anything, or I can't, go in that direction. I present facts. We at the Warriors, that's what we do, the truth, the facts. And so I will be testifying September 11th. It is a good thing for me to put my face out there and just look at them and say these things. But in the meantime, the most important thing is on the ground, grassroots, in the communities. We have to do it. We have to get the information to the people. You have to know the steps to take. And something I want to leave you with, going back to school, and we have to do it. There's a wonderful, let me just see first what Sarah says. Mississippi allows kids to work in processing plants. One child got caught in some sort of machine. It was on the news one time for 2 minutes max. I think it's the same story I'm thinking of. Typical of, perhaps they'll put a story about a child, something horrible, because they'll get clicks and likes. But you're not hearing all the horrible stories I'm hearing or told about. Organ harvesting, babies. I'm just going to leave it at that. Farms that kids are on. I'm going to leave that for now.
Well, look at this right now, for example. Mississippi. This is from 2023. Mississippi teens death in poultry plant, child labor in Mississippi.
But I'm here to say it's in every state.
Yes,
it's not, and it's like hidden in plain sight. And people will say, because somebody just presented me with a story the other day, and I said, "You reported it, right?" And he said to me, "No." I said, "Well, why wouldn't you report it? I want to be done with it. I don't want to be involved." We all have to be involved. You're not going to be held responsible. You must call that 911. You must contact the cyber tip line. You have to, because what they will do in Washington, which is part of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, they will immediately farm out that information back locally to get a move on it. And we have to move on it, because the other thing is, I constantly, if you don't, I'm digressing a little bit here, but if a child's missing, they wait far too long to look for that child, calling kids runaways. We have to start immediately when a child is in trouble. If a child's missing, right away, they have to be considered at risk.
I don't want to interrupt, but when you were on recently, she was on Nancy Grace's show or shows, and they think kids are either runaway or abducted, but run away differently. You a couple of times suggested that there was a child who had a student promising, and you said run away maybe, but don't. It was almost like seduction. You called it, and they said, "Oh no, this is."
Here's what I say. I understand what you're saying.
Right.
It's not what it seems with these children disappearing. First of all, something else we don't talk about or understand is so many of these kids have to run away. They are sexually abused at home. They are physically abused. They have a drug-addled parent. There's nothing for them. They think they're better running away and getting out of that horrible situation, right? So they run away. That criminal creep monster is waiting for them. I see them around New York, especially in the last 2 years, standing on street corners. I can pick them out. They're waiting for that vulnerable kid. You can tell. I can tell. A kid who just came out of the Port Authority, kind of looking around, maybe a backpack. As a matter of fact, there's a story I just posted on Twitter of 2 girls. And here's the other thing. Law enforcement is not giving out the details. They're saying that Times Square, this guy was hanging, and again, they're not giving out details. So that's kind of hard, like warning people and things like that. I'm taking from it, he's been doing it along with others, found 2 vulnerable teenagers, and for a week held them captive. He first gave them some drugs. So I don't know what that situation is. There's all kinds of people in Times Square. And somehow then he got them to come home with him to his apartment. He kept them drugged. He kept raping them. Somehow law enforcement saved them. But they're now saying these rings and these individuals are out there snatching from Times Square children and teens. So shouldn't this be at the forefront of every newscast? Shouldn't this be online instead of women rocking their bikinis? I mean, I'm sorry. This should be what people have to know. I don't care if you live in a rural area and you send your 12-year-old to get a loaf of bread. We live in an environment that scares me even more. Nobody around. That child will be snatched. But what you were talking about is I was trying to point out to Nancy Grace that kids are very savvy today. Kids can be what you think and this was the case, a straight A student, she was a great family member and all that. A lot of kids have multiple devices. Parents don't even know about these burner phones, and they have a whole separate life online the parents don't even know about. So when this case came forward, this great 12-year-old just disappeared. She was on her bicycle riding to her aunt's home, which she did a lot, and then all of a sudden she disappeared. They had her on some Ring cameras, and then she was gone. And I brought up the fact she took a turn she didn't usually take. So I brought up the fact, well, kids are savvy, and perhaps, because again, I don't know it for a fact, she had another device, something her parents didn't know about. She was going to meet somebody, because that's what the kids do. They have these alter egos online. A girl that might be shy in real life, could be some sort of floozy online. And I was a little bit cut down with that, but you know what? I turned out to be right, because we know with our work at the Warriors, most kids know how to get around safety features, pin codes. They know how to do things with routers in the home. They know how to have that burner phone you can buy at the gas station. So we have to be on top of this, and it's hard. I understand that, but we're here to help you understand all of this. So I want to finish up with one thing, going back to school. There's a wonderful, wonderful program, very easy. We started it last year. You can go to linswarriors.org. Fairplayforkids.org is our partner in this, and it's getting the phones out of the classrooms. There is a toolkit, okay? And it simply means we
This
want.
one here, right? I'm gonna put this
and there
up.
are different states right now.
Is that it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, working on it. But there's a program, Phone Free School Movement. We want the kids to check the phones in the morning. You put it in a cubby. Cubbies have to be built in the schools. You put it in one of those pouches. You pick it up after school. I had a few people fighting me. They said, okay, well, check them in each classroom and between classes. I said, no, because they go in the bathroom and they use the phone. They'll be distracted. We need that 5 or 6 hours of total concentration with the teacher, learning, with the book, okay, with the cafeteria. The kids interact in the hallways, at the lockers. They interact. They can't be on the devices. We need to get the phones out of the schools. So this program, sponsored by Fair Play for Kids, again, I have it all over my Twitter, Facebook. A wonderful interview, by the way, I put up this morning with David Monahan, who is the campaign director at Fair Play for Kids. I would urge all of you to watch that and understand. He comes from the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, and he is working so hard to be at the forefront of campaigns to keep kids safe. And right now, we think getting the phones out of the classrooms is step one. So we want to do that. At least we know for a couple of hours a day, the kids are going to be forced to look at somebody in the eye.
I'm putting up David's
like
link.
Yeah,
here,
I want for the interview.
And I just put up Fair Play.
Yes, and there's also, when you look at the interview with David, in the body of it, I've listed out every single link that I think you should be looking at. And there's something called you can be an ambassador. So what you can do is you can be at the helm. I mean, everything's laid out for you. The dialogue you should use when you approach a school or a neighbor, another parent about this. It's all very simple. We've done all the work for you. And that you go to your school, because there's no federal law or anything like this. Now states, for instance, Governor Kathy Hochul here started saying, we got a lot of things going on here. She wants to get phones out of the schools. Well, we'll leave that for another program. But she hasn't implemented it yet, because I've been asking, how exactly does that work? Well, we're going to get to that in 2025. Okay, so it's probably not happening. But we have to know how to do it. And so,
I'm sorry, not to
Justin.
Justin says, yes, and parents need to be educated on the dangers of unsupervised devices, or am I too radical?
Too radical.
Mention our dear friend, Eyes.
You can never be too radical. I always suggest protectyoungeyes.com.
There we go.
Our good friend Chris McKenna does little nuggets, information. There are new apps coming out every single day. And the kids, this is what's being thrown at them. The average now is 7 hours a day, a 9 to 17-year-old. I just got this fact yesterday, because they're all over the place. And even if it's off, it doesn't matter. If kids 9 to 17 are spending 7 hours a day on a phone, or gaming, or their Chromebook or laptop. They have to sleep. They have to have some kind of education. A teen may also work. Like their minds are being, um, their minds are being infiltrated. And I use the word infiltrated because big tech bears no responsibility. And getting back to Fair Play for Kids, they have been at the forefront. They are the leaders for the Kids Online Safety Act, which passed in the Senate and is now sitting with the House. It is a bipartisan bill. And you know what it says? I don't want to hear from anybody, oh, any of these laws, legislation is stealing our privacy. It has nothing to do with that. This Kids Online Safety Act simply says that big tech, these platforms have a duty of care. If something they see something on their platforms with children, take it off. Anything with minors, that's up to them. Don't leave it up to parents, frazzled parents, overwhelmed parents, and everybody to be looking for content, reporting content. It's their duty. But you know what? The truth is they're making a lot of money because there are algorithms and they keep feeding the kids and addicting them. And we have lots of studies. This is addictive. So it is up to us. There's nothing too radical. This is the world we live in. We're not giving back, phones, and we're not giving back anything. We live, this is it. But, kids today have their assignments are on phones and laptops. So we have to be that warrior that stands up. I don't care if it's 5 minutes a day. You share something from our Twitter account, or you look at one of our interviews, or just one of the topics. You have to be in this. I am warning you. This is the most important thing. And I want anybody and this is a wonderful time because Congress is recessing. So it's a good time. You can reach out. Again, it's all on the website, linswarriors.org, fairplayforkids.org. Who represents you? It is one click. I'm telling you. You click on the link, put in your zip code, and your name will go to your representative, and it'll just say, please support Kids Online Safety Act. Please support phone-free schools. We've done it all for you. We have to do this.
Do they pay attention to your emails and calls? And
yes, they absolutely pay attention. I would say much more so if it's the email and the call than even visiting their office. They do keep records. See, people are under the impression they don't care. They don't. Kids Online Safety Act we started this almost 3 years ago. It is bipartisan, belongs to no political party. It is sponsored by Senator Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, Republican, and also Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut.
Now, by the way, when they do something right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, but people have to understand, and I want you to wrap your minds around.
I'm going to put this up. Kids on Marsha Blackburn.
Okay. Right? If there's good work being done, if there's a good job being done, again, I don't care if it's coming from the left, the right, the up, the down, the middle. It is about the kids. It is about you. It's about the families. That's what we have to become. We can't become everything is weaponized. I can't get involved. It's this one. It's a progressive. If they are doing something that is, and believe you me, I do my homework. I know what's going on. Something worthwhile, and I'm supporting it, you need to support it too, because it's about helping our children. Because there is not enough talk about this, not enough take actions about this. You have to know what to do. But the first step is we got to keep reassuring our kids with our youth mental health crisis. We love them, we hug them, we bite our lip, and just try to figure out always how to keep an eye on them, how to help them, and talk to them. We've got to talk to them. So I leave you with this little tidbit. There's a lot going on. But I urge you always to be aware of what's happening. You may not have children, but you have a brother or sister who has children. You may be a grandparent. A lot of grandparents reach out to me. You can always write to me, lynn@linswarriors.org, and ask a question. We have to get on top of this. I can't keep saying it to you. It is the scariest thing, the things I know, what's going on, whether it's the border, our kids, this foster care system that does not work, dumping kids on work farms. I mean, who would have thought? And the reason, just to go back, Paris Hilton is involved in this and very passionate. See, so I can forget anything else maybe she would have done. Maybe I didn't agree with or something, because what she is doing now, and bringing her name and her millions, she has millions of people on her platforms. I take that. I'm going to go with this because if that's what it takes to get this legislation passed or to save kids or to help or stop this 23 billion, we need that for other things to help kids. Then I'm going to go with her because her parents, and she says, unbeknownst to them, because she's in her 40s now, early 40s, she was just impossible in acting out as a teenager. So they sent her to one of those, where the people come to your home in the middle of the night and they take you out to the ranch. But there's such mental torture. They don't let kids go to the bathroom sometimes in these places. They don't give you your medicine. They isolate you. It's a form of trafficking. They make you do hard labor in some of these places. We have to, and she's speaking out. And Senator Shannon Grove, also in California, God bless her, doing amazing work in the state of California on behalf of children to keep them safe. We have to get behind, she's a Republican, we have to get behind anybody doing good work. So I ask you to open up your eyes and your ears and follow along and take that route along with me. And I agree, if we could just go back to, and there are, for instance, there's a company called Gab, GABB.com, also Bark, BARK.us. They have Gab, for instance, looks like an iPhone, an iWatch, but it's only for texting and phone calls. There's no internet capabilities. And I would urge all of you to get your child because parents will say, my child feels left out. They don't have a phone. Delay is the way. We always preach that. It's up to you, parental autonomy, when you want to give the child a phone.
There's the Gab link.
No, but really, does a 5-year-old, when parents tell me their 5-year-old has a phone, what 5-year-old needs a phone? What 8-year-old needs a phone? Okay, delay is the way. Remember that. But if you're going to do it, go to Gab and get the device. It's only for texting and phone calls. No predators can break through on this. And Bark has kind of a monitoring system. And I don't really like monitoring, but you know what? Somebody's got to monitor the predators because they are winning. They are winning. So for a very nominal fee, they will, any sexual images or dialogue, you connect your phones, very simple. They will alert you. They'll blur images and dialogue immediately. But again, all of this is great. But if we don't talk to the kids and explain, there are creeps out there. People want to hurt you. You have to come to mom or dad or auntie or grandma. You have to go to a trusted adult. If we can't do that, we are going to fail because we have too many kids hurting themselves, harming themselves, killing themselves. And we'll get into that later. But going into this new school year, I want everybody to be aware of what is happening. The school environment alone, be a class parent, get involved with the school board, know what's going on. It would be great if we could all homeschool and have teaching pods. No, people work. Not everybody can do that or is capable of doing it. So we use the public schools. We use our taxes for that. So be part of it. Don't be scared. We cannot afford to be scared. And I just want to say this was a wonderful, thank you for helping me with our inaugural. I could go on and on.
Well, let's make sure we go on and
I want to thank everybody also about everything.
Well, this was your very first one.
Hillbilly 55, it needs to be framed and put in a wall. People put those.
Your first dollar.
No, but we have Hillbilly. We've got Mike. Thank you so much. Bag Biz.
Justin's
Kuhn. A new member here. Oh, thank you so much for being so generous with me. I can assure you all of our funds go into educational programs. We do focus groups. We do talking about digital safety with the kids. Get them on board. We've got our Warriors Youth Council where they're training other college-age students, how to deal with this with some high school students. Because after all, I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but having somebody more age appropriate, of course, with my guidance, I'll be there, talking peer-to-peer makes all the difference. And Nick, you always say for the algorithm, and I always give you a thumbs up on my videos. Thank you. Thank you for saying great job. And Karen, you're not late because I'm going to be doing so many more of these. I'm telling you, going into this fall season, it is full steam ahead. So stay tuned, follow along, and always thank you. But remember, each and every day, you got to wake up and you got to go out and be a warrior.